Hey, everybody, I'm so glad that you tuned in today. We have a very special guest again here on Conversations, one of my best friends, the one, the only, all the way from Columbia, Missouri, Bishop Josh Palmer. So don't go anywhere. I'll be back in just a minute. Well, Bishop, I'm glad you're here today. And I know you didn't have to travel too far to get here. This is my good friend, Bishop Josh Palmer, for all of you that don't know. And we've been friends for how long?
Man, at least 10 years.
Yeah.
At least.
At least.
And I want to say, man, it's a joy to see you today, man. I love you and your family and what God's doing.
I feel the same way.
Yeah. It's a blessing to be on Conversations today.
Come on. How long have you been pastoring your church?
We turned 11 years old at the beginning of the year, so about 11 and a half years. We planted the church there in Columbia.
That's awesome.
And God's been doing, Destiny Point Church.
Come on.
God's doing amazing things, man. We've seen, 3,500, I believe, or more souls saved.
Awesome.
This year alone, we're at 786 salvations.
Come on, somebody.
And just through outreaches and things, God's helping us to reach
baptizing people left and right.
Left and right.
Left and right. I love it, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I want to talk to you a little bit today because I know that God's got something on your heart. You're actually speaking at our church tonight, which we're excited about that.
Yeah.
And God's got something on your heart about how to develop the kingdom principle or the kingdom purpose in your life. Basically, we're all called of the Lord. How do we activate that and step into that? Why don't you speak into that just a little bit?
Yeah, thanks. Like I said, to be able to share today.
Yeah.
The backdrop I think about is obviously David being called to be king one day, right? He's out in the field taking care of the sheep. Samuel comes to the house. God gave him word that one of those sons of Jesse is going to be the next king. You know the story. They go through all the older sons.
Yeah.
And then they bring David in finally at the end from the field. He comes in, they pour oil all over his head. They tell him, you're going to be the next king one day. And then he goes back out into the field to take care of the sheep. Mm-hmm. So I think of this often when it comes to people who are feel the calling of God on their life. You know, like David, I go back into this field. I know that God's called me. His hands on my life. How do I go from this field that I'm in to getting to the palace?
That's good.
You know, what are some of the keys there? And so that, as a backdrop for conversation today, thinking about people that have a call of God on their life, they know that God's spoken to them, whether that's recently or when they were younger, and they know that calling's there, but they're not really fulfilling that, and then how to get to that place, of really fulfilling what God's spoken over their life. If I could say this, one of the main things that we have to understand, and when it comes to our calling and actually fulfilling what God spoke over us, we must realize that calendar and clock doesn't automatically get us to that place.
That's good.
Okay.
That's good.
I've been raised in church my whole life, and I've seen people that think in their mind just because they've been saved for a length of time that they should automatically be in a position, have a title, fulfilling whatever, just because of longevity. I've seen people, they've given their heart to the Lord, but really kind of just stopped right there, maybe become lukewarm, became religious or whatever, and they really haven't progressed and really become qualified to live out that calling quite yet. But people think because of clock and calendar, I've been in this church longer than anyone. I've been serving here or whatever. I should,
Sure.
But here's the key thing.
Entitlement.
Yeah, for sure. But here's the key thing. Calendar and clock doesn't get us there automatically to that palace of purpose, if you say it like that. It has to be some keys, things like being fruitful, growing in the things of the Lord, being mentored, all these basic things to qualify to be what God wants us to be. So I think about David. He's in the field. And he's, I imagine he's like, how am I ever going to get from here to the palace? Couple key things that I believe that was really important. Number one, I believe that he has to break the pauper mentality.
Come on.
Okay.
Yeah.
We know that our thinking is so vital, but sometimes as Christians, especially kind of in the culture I was raised in, it was like, oh, you're saved now, and you almost kind of throw your brain out the window and you just rely on the Holy Ghost, right?
Sure.
But our mindset is so important, our thinking and having the mind of Christ and all these things. And so I've seen a lot of people trying to run after the call of God in their life, but yet they still have this pauper mindset, this poor mentality of themselves, and
I'm never going to be good enough.
Yeah,
Nobody wants me to come preach.
Yeah, all these types of things, or I'm just not qualified because of the way I was raised, or
My
the people,
past.
Those things. And so in Proverbs it says that there's a few things that would cause the earth to shake, and one of those it says that if a pauper becomes a king, the earth would tremble at that thought, right? Yeah. And so if you're called of the Lord, one of the things that's so important is you have to have the Lord to do a renovation of the mind. Because the Bible says, as a man thinks, so is he. Yeah. So our thinking creates a path on which we walk, and creates our path for our future. So here's David. He's a shepherd boy in the sheep in Bethlehem, probably kind of more of a rundown, maybe poor type of area. And for him to be king one day, he's going to have to break the pauper mentality and realize that God's hands on him and there's a king on the inside of him. Yeah. Right. And so anyone that would be watching today that feels like, man, I'm called of the Lord, you have to break that pauper mentality to get to that place. You have to see that you are a king or a queen on the inside. Yeah. I think about Elisha, a farmer, and they've cast a mantle upon him. You're going to be the next prophet one day, right? But all he saw in himself was a farmer. Yeah. But what God saw was a prophet on the inside of him. Yeah. So there's many folks that have some things on the inside of them that's kicking and screaming to get out. And I think one of those keys, number one, is our mentality. If there's poor mentality, pauper mentality, I'm not good enough mentality, you got to allow the Lord to do a work in your mind so that you can get to that place, so that you can operate in the kingdom and have impact.
Now, if you are enjoying this content, I want you to help me out. Click that subscribe button above, and don't forget to turn on your bell notifications so you can be alerted when more videos like this drop. You've been in church your whole life, you said.
Yes, sir.
And I know there's probably countless of people watching that have maybe been to church twice, in their life, or had just gotten saved and have a huge past emotionally, sexually, with addictions, with substances, with soul ties with relationships. And I could understand how that individual could have the mindset of, I don't feel good enough to be able to do this. But the fact of the matter is, every person that's breathing has a past, whether it's known or it's not known.
Very true.
And they used to tell us a Bible quote. Do you remember this? I'm sure it's a famous quote. God doesn't call the perfect, he perfects those he calls. Or God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the call.
Yeah, that's good.
And I think that those keys are very important to keep before all of us. But it also, I think, could go the other way, because there's nothing worse than somebody getting to the palace that's prideful.
Yes.
That think that
that's
they
so
have
good.
all the different capabilities, and they're cutthroat with everything because they're the man. Like David, after he sinned, he was so prideful. He said, I'm still the man, And so I think that there's a other side of that coin, that the balance, I think, is humility. If we can walk in humility when we get to the palace, humility will keep us in the palace. And I think that's how we walk in favor with God and with man. Jesus, the Bible said in Luke 2:52, he grew in wisdom, stature, and favor with God and with man.
Yeah.
And I think when you're leading, you can't lead insecure, like, I'm not good enough to be here. Well, God put you here. Yeah. If you weren't good enough to be here, why would God put you here? So stop being a baby. Stop acting like that.
Yeah, right.
But on the other side, you have to walk in humility and realize not everybody's where you are. And you didn't open these doors for you. God did. People ask me all the time, and I don't know about you, Bishop, but sometimes I'm in like awe of like, how am I getting to do this? I don't know about you, but like,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I was preaching for a pastor a couple of weeks ago on a Sunday, and I'm standing there in front of the down the aisle area. What do you call that? The altar area?
Yeah, altar area.
I was standing at the altar area, and I was literally thinking through my mind, how do I get to do this? How do we get to stand before God's people and break the word for them so that they can understand it? I think we have to keep that attitude of
Yes, sir.
humility, not just to get us to the palace, but to keep us there.
Yeah, that's so good.
So that's a key. Those are some keys. What do you think are some types of people that help you? Like we're proteges. I think I'll always be a protege till the day I die. Hopefully.
Oh, absolutely.
I want to be your
be.
protege. I mean,
I
to
wanna
some
be your
degree,
protege.
you encourage me, and I have a sense of accountability to you. So I always want to be a protege. So what are some keys that you've learned about? Not that we've arrived, because that's not what I'm saying. But what are some keys that have helped you along the journey to have the success that you're having in ministry?
Yeah,
the who's
man.
in your life.
Awesome question. And just to go back for just a moment where you said going to the palace, being prideful in the palace will be taken away from you for sure, right?
Yeah.
I think that as a leader that pours into people, I think that I would rather pour into someone that has a little like low self-esteem to bring confidence in their life than someone, like you said, that
Teachable.
yes, that thinks that they're God's gift and no one's ever been anything like them.
Yeah.
And so, I think about, again, David, when he was called to the house, he bowed down and the oil flowed on his life.
Come on.
And so if you want oil to flow on your life, you have to bow down. You have to bow your heart, Man, we've been serving the Lord all these years. Gosh, I'll be 45.
Man, you're getting old, bro.
I know, man. I'm telling you, I feel it. I've been sold out.
I'll be 49 in a couple weeks.
Man, you're really old.
Come on, somebody.
I've been serving the Lord, man, almost 30 years since I was 15 with my whole heart, passionately pursuing Him. And the closer I get to the Lord, the more I realize I need Him. And I'm not saying that I'm Mr. Humble.
Sure.
I'm just saying I realize like, man, I have nothing if it wasn't for the Lord.
Yeah.
And so, getting to that palace of purpose, it's going to take some key people in your life. You have to recognize key people that God brings into your life that's going to propel you to that place. And so I think about Samuel, right? So Samuel's the one that come to the house. God gave him the word and said, the next king's in this house.
Yeah.
And then it was Samuel, when David walked through the door, Samuel recognized this is the king.
Yeah.
The Holy Spirit, the Spirit of the Lord told Samuel, this is he.
Yeah.
And so a key person in our life for us to get to live in that life of significance, and impacting people's hearts and being that ambassador that Christ wants us to be, whether you're in ministry or you own a business or you're a school teacher, whatever, God has us everywhere, right? 100%. Impacting people's lives. We have to have a Samuel in our life, a person that recognizes the king in us.
Come on.
When we didn't see the king in us ourselves. If you have a Samuel in your life, man, you are a blessed somebody.
Yeah,
somebody that sees that God-given potential in you that maybe you don't see when you look in the mirror. But if you have a Samuel in your life, here's what you got to do. You got to stay close to him. Because, man, they're so rare. Because everyone's busy and everyone's about kind of their own flow and things. And if someone can recognize something in you that you don't see and want to pull that out of you, want to coach that and want to, just pour oil on that and fan that flame, man, you got to stay close to that Samuel. I think about David as he grew. Even when he was king, he ran to Samuel at times, right? Yeah. So you have to have a Samuel in your life. It's a key person. Number two, I always say you got to have a Jonathan in your life too, right? So Jonathan becomes David's best friend. They become covenant brothers. And I think about Jonathan, who is a prince under, he's Saul's son. So in my mind, I think Jonathan knows royal protocol. When David was raised, he's raised in Bethlehem, taking care of sheep. Jonathan's raised under as a son, the king's son, he probably understands how to fold his napkin just right at the dinner table, what utensils to use, how to approach the king and all these things. So then when David comes into the palace, Jonathan takes David under his wing. And they become covenant brothers. And I believe that Jonathan probably becomes like a mentor to David to show him like, hey, this is how you sit at the table. This is how you approach the king. And he becomes a mentor to him, kind of like Samuel. So we need a Samuel in our life. We need a Jonathan in our life too, to get to that throne of destiny that God's called us to. I say it like this. We need to find people that are doing already what God's called us to do.
Yeah.
So that we can glean from them and we can learn from them and they can mentor us and pour those things into our life. A key person, number 3, we need a Goliath in our life.
Come on.
The first two, the first two is, a Samuel and a Jonathan that's all about you.
That's good.
But sometimes God will allow Goliath to come into your life too, because it was actually Goliath that propelled David to recognition. Yeah. When David brought down Goliath, everyone cheered and was like, who is this young man, right? And it actually propelled him to the palace, because whoever killed Goliath was the one that was going to marry one of Saul's daughters, right? Yeah. And so it wasn't that God brought chariots to pick up David and ushered him to the place of purpose. It was actually an enemy that God allowed to come to propel him to that place. And so we got to recognize people, situations, challenges, attacks. I'm going to
give you a number 4.
Yeah, go ahead.
We all need a Nathan.
Yeah, that's good.
To say, hey, man, you're out of line.
Yeah.
So I believe with all my heart, the moment you stop being a protege is the moment you stop heading to the palace. Like,
that's so good.
If you're not under, how can you be over? When do you stop becoming the student? I don't think you should ever stop becoming a student.
Yeah.
You should always become teachable. If you're not teachable, you're unreachable.
That's
and
so
how
good.
can you advance without somebody coaching you and showing you? You said a minute ago maybe it was 10 minutes ago, about faithfulness. God wants you faithful. And I was in this environment not that long ago, and I was sitting there thinking, this environment's been going on for several decades, and nothing has changed, but they're faithful.
Yeah.
And I thought we have a gentleman here who works out all the time.
Yeah.
And that would be silly for him to think if he was just faithful to go to the gym and lift a 5-pound dumbbell.
Come on, that's good.
That he's really making a difference.
Yeah. That's kind of what I do.
If you want to make a difference, you got to get around a Nathan who's going to say, man, you're lifting that wrong. Yeah. And it's going to hurt what I'm about to show you. But if you don't fix this, I can't fix you.
Man, that's good.
And a good trainer makes you leave that gym sore.
Yeah.
So listen, if you go to a gym and you pay $1,000, I don't know how much a trainer is. Obviously, I don't know. And you pay $1,000 for a trainer and you're never sore, you're wasting your money. Get your money back.
Yeah, because you can be faithful, but are you being fruitful?
See?
Yeah. That's fruitfulness is what qualifies you for the next, right? Or more.
Yeah.
Because, if you're in an area, what business, education, ministry, whatever it may be, you get put in a department and you're not being fruitful, then you're wasting your time, the boss's time, the company's money.
Everybody.
You can be faithful to show up to your job every day, but are you being fruitful? And so Jesus said, you'll know them by their fruit, right?
Fruit, yeah.
And so pursuing that call in your life, you have to prove fruitfulness when nobody else is really looking.
Come on.
Right? So that you could be qualified to manage more. And it's not that you're climbing the ladder in the kingdom, because we're actually going down to serve at a greater capacity.
That's so good.
But you're right. I love what you said there. We do. We need a Nathan in our life that will look at us right in the eye and say, thou art the man. Right? When David messed up.
You wrong.
You got to get this right. Yeah. Someone that'll tell you the truth. And even if it hurts your feelings a little bit, those key people. Here's the thing. Sometimes we have ran, I believe, Bishop, we've ran from key people in our life because they hurt our feelings, especially in church culture.
For sure, yeah.
Like
Me
you,
included.
I have too.
Yeah.
I've gotten salty before and got my feelings hurt.
Yeah.
But we needed someone to tell us the truth, not necessarily to hurt our feelings, but it's going to hurt our feelings if we're off or we didn't have the right attitude or whatever. And a leader had to tell us to correct us, right? I believe that we've ran from some Nathans in our life where God's like, I brought that Nathan there to get you into order to so that you could see, not to make you feel bad about yourself, not to make you feel condemned, but that you can correct this so that you can be fruitful. So we need a Samuel. We need the Jonathan. We need a Goliath, right? That challenge. We need the Nathan. Here's another one. Last one probably today. We need the Saul in our life, King Saul.
Sure. Yeah.
Because King Saul is our critic.
Yeah.
Okay. He's our hater.
Come on.
Samuel and Jonathan love on us. So we need those people that see the king in us.
Sure.
But we also sometimes, God allows the Goliath and the King Saul to come. Was it 21 times, I believe, that Saul tried to kill David?
That's crazy.
It was either 14 or 21 times
honestly
that he threw javelins at him and all these things.
I mean, I know the story. I just don't know how many times.
Yeah. He was his critic. He was his hater. He was jealous of him, right? But God actually used Saul to help David, whether David realized it or not. Because the Bible says that David, because of Saul, he behaved himself more wisely. So God allowed the critic to come into his life to actually make him check his P's and Q's a little tighter, right? It's like God allowed a thorn in Paul's flesh, and Paul said, I prayed 3 times that God would remove this from me. And God said, my grace is sufficient for you. He didn't remove the thorn, but he allowed the thorn to work something in Paul's life. And so sometimes we want to run from the hater, and I say this often, but our hater can become our escalator.
That's good.
God can use people to actually elevate our life. Now, listen, you don't want to go on vacation with Saul.
No.
You're not like hanging out with Saul. But your critic can actually make you better. Yeah. And so in the process, like, man, God's called me. I know he's got something for me, whether that's ministry or business or, you're trying to elevate in the workplace, and God's got something greater. How do I get from A to B? Some of those keys, and then the right people, recognizing those Sauls, those mentors, those spiritual fathers, recognizing those challenges. Don't run from your Goliath. Run through your Goliath, because it may be a setup to elevate you. You better preach. And then your Sauls, right? Your critics will make you better. So don't go home and be like, I'm going to quit this job because that coworker is just a hater.
Rubbing me wrong.
No, you just stay in the fire.
Now, I don't know about you, Bishop, but for me, this is what I've learned through the years. How long have you been in full-time ministry? It's been like
22 years. Yeah.
Man, that's awesome. I'm a little bit ahead of you, just like 26. But one thing I've learned that God used for me when you talk about Saul and the thorn in the flesh, if you study the life of Paul, he begins off saying, I, the chief apostle, Paul, the apostle.
Yeah, come on now.
And at the end of his life, I, your lowly, humble servant. I think to some degree that thorn taught him from going to high and mighty to, not that he was high and mighty, but the language is, I, the chief apostle, I, your humble servant.
Yeah.
I think the thorn has its way of working that out in our lives, and God uses people to do that.
Yeah.
He uses accusation to do that.
That's so
good. I think, I was telling our team this yesterday. We do this thing on Mondays called Motivational Monday, where on Mondays I send just our team a little video about leadership. It's like 2 to 3 minutes. And this week I sent the one that when you're in relationship with somebody, you need to have the 3 C's present. The first one is who gets your creativity flowing.
Yeah.
Like when we're together, we start talking about church stuff, pastoral things.
Yeah.
We start, if I tried that, what if you do this? What do you do? And
it starts flowing.
Yeah, you start flowing. Secondly, you need to have a cheerleader. Who is cheering you on? You can make it. You can do it. Even if you're at the lowest and you messed up, you can do it. You can make it.
Yeah,
that's all they say is you can do it. You can make it.
Yeah.
And then thirdly, you got to have a critique. That's the third C.
That's so
now,
good.
I think there's 2 types of criticism. There's constructive criticism and there's negative criticism.
Yeah.
We don't need negative critics
No.
We need constructive critics, because all criticism that comes from somebody you love, I believe, is there to empower you and to make you better and filled with restoration. If it's not filled with that, that's how you know if it's the right critic or not. You know?
That's true.
If it's somebody telling you you'll never, you can't, you won't, that's your Goliath. I think a positive critic, somebody who's constructively criticizing you, is, hey, you need to tweak this. You're not seeing what I see. And if you would adjust this, it can help you become more successful.
Yeah.
And I believe that we're kind of saying the same thing.
Yeah, no,
but
that's
those
powerful.
3 C's
So
of
good.
relationships and each one of those categories that you mentioned, I think are extremely important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no doubt Samuel and Jonathan critiqued David.
Yeah.
I just imagine so.
For sure.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, Samuel's a strong leader.
Yeah.
Like he didn't play, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure he told David, but because of the connection and the heart and the relationship, it was different than the Saul.
good, man.
You know, I love what you're saying there. You know, sometimes God will bring a Saul in your life to maybe beat out the Saul that's in you that you didn't know was there.
You better prophesy to that.
Yeah.
That's good.
And so sometimes we try to run from our crisis, but God's like, no, I want you to stay in it.
Yeah.
Because I'm doing something in you
Yeah.
and getting something out of you that maybe you didn't know was there. You know, it goes to the art of suffering. You shared earlier in this conversation that I'm ministering tonight at LifeGate, which is such a great honor.
It's gonna be awesome.
This is
It's our honor. Come on.
Besides DPC,
You're the best.
LifeGate's the most
We
incredible
love
place
you.
to preach. And
I'll
I mean
tell
that.
everybody he's outside of Bishop Hart, our house favorite.
Man,
We love you.
this is one of my favorite places to preach.
Well, we
I
love
love
you.
it. I mean that. Talking a little bit tonight though about the art of suffering. We don't like to talk about suffering that much, but this present suffering won't be compared to the glory that will be revealed, right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes struggle and suffering is the gateway to greater glory, and we don't want the suffering.
Yeah.
There's off to the side, there's a trainer in the room, and we don't want to suffer, leg day.
Yeah. But we'll stay slow and fat.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
we don't- if
But
we
if
don't
we'll go
suffer.
through the suffering, we'll build some muscle,
Yeah.
right, and bring some glory. So,
Yeah.
the critics, the right people. You have to surround yourself with the right people. Your circles matter. Oh my goodness. At our church we have an impactful recovery ministry that God's blessed us with to help those in our community dealing with addiction. And maybe the number one message that's often preached is your circle matters. Like
So true.
it does. And so the right people to get from A to B, to get from the field to the palace, the right people, whether that's the people that are cheering you on or the people that's giving you constructive criticism, we need those people so that we can get to that palace, right?
sure.
So those are a few keys there. Key
So
people
good. So
in
good.
those
'Cause
things.
when you are called and God's hand is on your life, it's not instantaneously.
Yeah.
You need the right people. What you taught us today, you need the right people and you need the right things in your life, the right keys to open those doors. And powerful stuff, man. Thank you for doing this with me today.
Yeah, man, it's an honor just to sit and chat and, man, just to be with you, man. I love you.
I appreciate it. Just conversations. We should have some coffee or something. There's nothing like pastor, there's nothing in these cups.
Yeah.
So, but we should have had a cup of coffee.
We should
have. Well, I'm so thankful you tuned in today. I hope that something Bishop had encouraged you with, or myself encouraged you with, is going to help you along your journey of your walk with God. And you know what we do. You got to comment something down in the comment section below, and I might address that in an upcoming conversation. Hit that subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video.